DenoX Live, Episode 83, Season 2, DenoX Reviews the Sega Game Gear. Hello YouTube, this is DenoxSeries speaking once again, and today I'm gonna be reviewing a handheld system, and it's not a PSP or a DS. It's gonna be a handheld system. It has the light up screen, backlit screen. It has colors already, and it was made in the 90s. Can you guess what handheld I'm gonna review? That's right, it's the Sega Game Gear. Oh my god, look how big this thing is compared to the portables nowadays, like the DS Lite, the PSP Slim, or no, any PSP, DS, Game Boy Advance, anything. This thing is bigger than all of that. A matter of fact, in my opinion, next to the Atari Lynx, this is possibly one of the biggest handheld gaming system of all time. And kinda heavy too, but it gets a little bit to get used to, don't worry. It's not that heavy to me, it doesn't feel that heavy. Actually, to me it feels kinda light. Okay, but now to the Game Gear. Back then, these were what the games that looked like. Here I got Sonic Double Trouble, thanks to one of my friends that gave it to me. And let's just say that this little thing didn't last too long in the market. It was an epic fail, just like the Dreamcast and the Saturn. But at least the Dreamcast had something revolutionary at the time. But that's for another video. Well, first of all, why did Sega Game Gear fail? Because you needed 6 AA batteries. You know that when it was compared with the original Game Boy only had 4 AA batteries. Everyone thought it was awesome to have a Game Gear at the time, because look, this is something what the original Game Boy didn't have. It didn't have a backlit screen. It didn't have colors. And they think, oh my god, the Game Gear is a million times better than the original Game Boy. But you really think so? For those of you that think that Sega Game Gear was better than the original Game Boy, you're dead wrong. Because it's all about the games, not about the hardware. Because the hardware is nothing without its games. Okay, I'm gonna put this back in and there. Okay, I'm gonna show you how it lights up very soon. By the way, I got this in the convention, the Comic-Con convention. You know the video that you saw a few videos ago? The 2-part Comic-Con convention? Yeah, I got it there in the retro section that you saw in part 1 of my Comic-Con review. It has pretty much an A and a B button, but it's called 1 and 2 here. And the volume is up here, and you can even change the brightness as well. And there's a start button right here. This little blue button on the right side of the Game Gear. That's where you press start. You could put your headphone like the Game Boy Advance SP didn't have. The external thingy, I don't know what that's for yet, but I think it's to play 2-player mode. If you haven't noticed, I'm not sure you can see it well from here. And this little foam jacket, if I'm not mistaken, the DC9V cord, that's where you would put your AC adapter. You could actually, this is pretty much the only way I'm playing the Game Gear. On this big gigantic AC adapter that takes a lot of electricity. No joke, this thing takes a lot more electricity than the DS and the PSP does now. Yeah, but either way, back in the 90s, it was actually a pretty decent system, thanks to the LCD. But I'm gonna plug this in so I can show you what it looks like. Okay, so this is how it turns on. On this little red button right here, you switch the power on from off to on. And there, you see that it has the light screen. It's all in pretty clear colors, but the only problem is, of course at the time, this thing was pretty good to have. And yeah, I'm playing Sonic Double Trouble right now. I'm gonna lower the volume because Okay, another thing about the Game Gear, you could, just like the original Game Boy, you could switch the brightness. You want it bright, you want it brighter, or you want it darker, or vice versa. I believe that switching up makes it darker. No, switching down makes it darker, and switching up makes it brighter. But I don't know. I found that kind of useless because if you make it more darker, you can barely see the screen. The best way to play the Game Gear is to have a balance between the brightness, dark and light, so you can see the game really well. If you can see it from here, Sonic the Hedgehog. Not a big Sonic fan, but it's pretty good. Yeah, it's actually comfortable to hold, believe it or not. For those of you that hasn't lived through the Game Gear years, it's pretty comfortable to hold, in my opinion. Though it's a lot heavier than the system, than the handhelds nowadays. But I find it pretty nice to hold and pretty comfortable as well. Of course, you're practically holding a brick. But in my opinion, it doesn't seem it's not that heavy. It seems heavy. I mean, people even said that the original Nintendo DS was heavy. I didn't find it heavy at all. Sure, it's heavier than the DS Lite, but it doesn't matter. Sure, this is a lot more heavier than the PSP, for example. But still, does it really matter if it's heavy or light? As long as it's comfortable to hold, as long as it's good to take around you. The only problem with this thing, you couldn't put it in your pocket. You need a purse to put this thing in. So that's one of the things that back then they didn't make a handheld system yet that you could put in your pocket into the Game Boy Pocket. But overall, for the time, it was a really neat system to have. Of course, it was more expensive than the original Game Boy back then. I don't remember what was the cost, but I think it was about $50 more than the original Game Boy, like 15 years ago or so. But I will give this system about a 6 stars out of 10. Why 6? Well, there's pros and cons. I always tell you the good thing about it, but but I haven't told you all the bad things yet. Well, there hasn't been much games for the Game Gear, just like the PSP, but the Game Gear barely had games for it. Mostly, they have lack of third-party support, just like Jedi once said back then. Lack of third-party support. The only thing supporting this thing was Sega, and 6 double-A battery, as I said before, only lasts for like 6 hours or so. It's not enough. It's not even worth the money getting 6 AA batteries to get this. That nowadays you could just get a rechargeable battery, don't have to waste money on AA battery, and voila, you don't. It lasts a lot longer too. But overall, if you look at it this way, I'm gonna play this every once in a while, but only on the AC adapter because too much AA batteries. So that's pretty much it for my Sega Game Gear review. And if I get another retro system, I might review it as well. Mostly a retro system that not a lot of people know about. So, take care, God bless, stay cool, and next video, that's a secret. But stay tuned for that. Bye.